In the 2011 federal election, several misleading calls and robocalls were made to prevent people from voting. Judge Mosley would later declare that there was an orchestrated effort to suppress votes by a person or persons with access to the Conservative Party's CIMS database. On April 30th, 2011, someone bought a prepaid phone using a prepaid credit card and registered it using the name Pierre Poutine. During the election in Guelph, a call was made using that phone. The person impersonated Election Canada, sending the voters to the wrong polling stations. Election Canada investigator Al Matthews claimed that thousands had received the call. In February 2012, several sources in the Conservative Party identified Michael Sona as Pierre Poutine. Michael Sona claimed he was being scapegoated. On March 5th, 2012, a University of Victoria professor and member of Order of Canada wrote a letter to the Globe and Mail claiming he attended the campaign training at the Conservatives' Manning Centre and voter suppression tactics were discussed. But on March 9th, 2012, Preston Manning blamed young Canadians sent to the US for training as the cause of the problem. He did not name Michael Sona, but Sona is a young member that several Conservatives have recently leaked to the media as being Pierre Poutine. May 4th, 2012, it was reported that campaign worker Andrew Prescott's IP address was used to make legitimate calls at the robocall company Rack9. The same IP was later used to arrange fraudulent robocalls at Rack9. Andrew Prescott was reported to have accessed the CIMS database. He downloaded a data of callers list the same day Pierre Poutine bought the phone on April 30th, 2011. Andrew Prescott denied any involvement. The National Post also reported that Election Canada was having a hard time getting a copy of the list downloaded by Prescott. The report said Sona did not access the database. The investigation has so far not revealed whether Sona got the list from Prescott. Prescott would later become Election Canada's key witness against Sona. Matthew McBain, who worked in the Conservatives' war room, also served as witness against Sona. Sona, to this day, vehemently denied involvement. Robocall was not the only investigation that kept Election Canada busy at that time. They were also investigating the Conservatives' in and out scheme that violated the election campaign spending limit. The Conservatives later pleaded guilty and settled out of court. But there were other cases of alleged campaign spending violations. Peter Penashway resigned for alleged spending irregularities involving loans and contributions from the First Nation funds managed by his brother-in-law. Dean Del Maestro was also investigated for an alleged scheme to conceal corporate donations through several individuals' personal checks. And this year, Pierre Poilievre tabled an election reform act that does not address the Pierre Poutine problem. Pierre claimed voter fraud as the reason for the reform, but remained silent about the vote suppression fraud. 160 professors of political sciences and laws from universities across Canada signed a letter raising the alarm and saying that the Elections Act would reduce Election Canada's ability to protect the fairness of the election. It would increase the influence of money, favouring richer individuals and parties. It will also expand the appointment of partisan poll supervisors. Sheila Fraser, the popular Auditor General, once complimented by Harper as the mother of all accountants, said the Election Act's removal of vouching would disenfranchise thousands of voters. She calls it an attack on our democracy and would make it very difficult for Election Canada to run a fair election. It will also create a giant loophole that would allow established parties to spend untold millions more. It would be unfair to newer parties. Harry Neufeld, the author of a report that Pierre claimed was used as the basis for eliminating vouching, warns that the Election Act would deny the vote to well over 100,000 voters. He accused Pierre of saying things that were not in his report. Pierre insists the Election Act is fair. To support the case for the removal of vouching, some MPs claimed there were voter fraud problems. MP Brad Butt claimed to have seen voter frauds being committed. He later admitted that was not true. MP Laurie Hawn was reported by the press to have claimed he was illegally offered voter cards in 2006. He was questioned on why he did not come forward at that time. Election Canada said that the voter card was not used for identification in 2006. The Election Act would also eliminate the ban on reporting results before all polls close, something Harper was very much against, as he once angrily said, "The jackasses at Election Canada are out of control," while defending Paul Bryan. Paul was charged by Election Canada for releasing results before all polls close. The Supreme Court overwhelmingly upheld that the law was needed for a fair election. The Elections Act is silent about the existing vote suppression fraud, and instead introduces new ways of disenfranchising voters. Election Canada had asked for more power to compel witnesses to testify and for more funding needed for the investigation. But Pierre's Election Act did not fix the Pierre Poutine problem. It instead prevented Election Canada from reporting about their investigation to the Parliament. The latest leaked report claimed that Andrew Prescott and Matthew McBain have testified that Michael Sona boasted about making the calls. This was corroborated by another member of the party, a staffer of Peter Penishway, the former MP who was embroiled in another election scandal. Sona still maintained his innocence and said that there were inconsistencies in his accusers' claims. Shouldn't the government want Election Canada to get to the bottom of voter suppression fraud? Keep Canada strong and free. Protect our democracy. Stop the Unfair Election Act from compromising our electoral process. Call Pierre in case he is listening.